Okay, so it's 2 minutes after. I see a lot of you have already joined. So again, thanks for that. Welcome to our webinar today between Inflights, Virto Solar, and Insaver, where we will be demonstrating how easy it could be where you use drone flights, Virto Solar or VirtoCAD software to make your designing a lot easier. Now, let's start. First of all, of course, I'm not here alone. I'm joined by two people today, and I want to present those as well. So first of all, we are joined by Hugo. Good afternoon to you.
Hello, Jerry. My name is Hugo de Blauwe. I'm the founder and CEO of Inflights. Very briefly about me, I'm an aerospace geek, studied aerospace engineering, designed drones a very, very long time when I had more hair. And then started Inflights 6 or 7 years ago, following my passion about drones and also about analyzing things and providing something useful to businesses. So more about that later. Thank you for having me.
All right, thanks for the introduction, Hugo. Today we're also joined by Davy. Davy, how are you? You're muted, Davy.
Okay.
How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. You as well, Jerry? Yeah.
I'm doing quite well. Yeah, thanks.
So my name is Davy van Doormalen. I'm B2B project manager, especially for industrial projects. And I work also together with Virto and Inflights. Thank you for the invite. And the next, later more about Insaver.
Yeah, all right, thanks. So today on the agenda, before we start, we have an introduction both on Inflights, Insaver, and of course also Virto Solar. We are going to be discussing the traditional methods of designing, after which it will be followed by a demonstration on Inflights and VirtoCAD. And of course, we're going to end with a Q&A session. So if you have any questions at all, you can save them later, or you can already send them in to the Q&A section you can find on the bottom. So I have to say, not in the chat, but in the Q&A session. I want to repeat, since a new couple of people have joined as well, this webinar will also be recorded. So afterwards, you will receive the recording and you can still rewatch it, of course. Okay, now, since we're going to be starting with Inflights, I'm going to give the word to Hugo. So take it away.
Thank you, Jerry. About Inflights, the name we came up with was designed by engineers. It's flying for insights. What does that mean? It means that we will be flying, take data from the air by flying, in this case, with a drone, and then generate insights that are useful for your business, which can be many verticals. But in this case of the webinar, we're mostly focusing on solar industry, where we will deliver insights that are useful in the process of designing and building solar panel sites. How do you do that? You can still go back to the previous slide. We designed actually a platform, a software, a system where you can obtain and process drone data. The obtain part is, I can explain, we don't fly ourselves, but we actually fly with local drone partners or drone pilots that have their own drone and equipment that are very close to the specific location of a specific project, which we will demonstrate later on. That's the obtain part. The process part is actually done by our engineering team, which is centrally located in Belgium, where we will take the drone data, process that, and then deliver final insights, which in this case is CAD models for the layout of your solar plant. A platform to obtain and process drone data. All right. How can I best explain drones? No, I've been so long in this business, so it's always hard, but I think the easiest way to explain what we do is to just start with something that everybody has used: Google Maps satellite view. Whenever you start a new project, whenever you start, pretty much you're going to buy a house or you're going to do pretty much anything in life, you always end up in Google Maps satellite view, which gives you an idea of the surroundings of a specific area. What is the next thing you do? You start zooming in, you zoom in, and then you end up with a blur or a lack of resolution, or you actually don't know exactly what is going on. In this case, this specific case is a project we did in Cameroon, in Africa, where the satellite view was outdated and of course did not have enough resolution for the project manager to understand what was going on. What is actually then the drone is actually you keep on zooming, and then suddenly you actually get the resolution that you need, which is needed to design or to make a very detailed CAD model. But at the same time, you also get a measurement of which you're 100% certain when it has been taken. Right? So it's a very recent measurement, i.e. it will be done today or in the next couple of days, but also you will get a resolution of 1 centimeter, 3 centimeters. Actually, doesn't really matter that much. A drone can do all of them, and it will give you the information you really need for that specific project. If we go back to what we do, flying for insights, I thought I already started about doing something that is useful for our clients, which are always B2B clients. When we go to the solar, our insights that people pay for are CAD models. And so we will make CAD models that are the input for the design of your site, and we will base ourselves on recent, very highly accurate drone data. If I can just do a 1-second sales pitch, why is this actually so interesting? Is because if you use this drone data and you work on roof-mounted solar panels, you will be able to see all the obstacles that are on the roof. You'll be able to see all the slopes and how the roof is actually being built. And you can also get the pictures and a very 1 centimeter detailed resolution of that roof. At the left side, you can actually see the result of a CAD model, which is also the model that we will be using throughout the whole webinar to explain what is done. If you actually do terrain mounted or ground mounted solar panel sites, which we call the terrain, we will also use the drone data, but here the useful information that we will get out of is how the elevation and how the topography of the terrain is actually being done. And also at the same time, we'll be able to extract, of course, all the objects and all the trees that are around, and then you can use this tree information to calculate the shadows on your ground-mounted solar project. And then I will almost finalize with the last slide. I think we can do this for solar. We really have chosen a couple of very specific niche markets that we are focused on. But at the same time, we have followed our clients across the world, and we have built a partnership of more than 2,500 pilots that we work with them intensively to be able to do measurements almost all over the world. It's of course not everywhere in the world, but most in the whole of Western Europe, Africa, of course, the United States, North and South America, Australia. We are very, very active helping our clients to get drone data.
All right. Thank you, Hugo, for the introduction on Inflights. Then we will move over to Insaver. So I'll give the word to you, Davy.
Okay, now a little bit from Insaver. Insaver is a specialist in energy saving solutions, such as solar panels, battery system, charging infrastructures, and energy management systems. This applies that to both private individuals or companies, industrial companies. This year, we were nominated for the 4th time as a Trans Gazelle of the province of Limburg, making us one of the fast-growing companies in the country. Insaver has been a part of the Luminous Group since 2017, and therefore guarantees stability and sustainability. Quality and safety are our top priorities, which is why we have been VCA Double Star certified since 2019. So in the next slide, you can see today we count on 12 years of experience in the sector and more than 300 megawatt peaks of installed capacity. We have more than 150 employees and partners who follow up every project from A to Z, and we are active in Belgium and neighboring countries. So that's for Insaver.
All right, thanks for the introduction from you as well, Davy. So then to end, we'll end with Virto Solar. First of all, VirtoCAD, which is our plugin for both AutoCAD and BricsCAD. Now, VirtoCAD mainly is used by EPCs, engineering firms, and developers to help them with their large-scale PV projects. That's either the big commercial and industrial rooftops, as well as the utility-scale ground-mounted systems. Now, either we want to help you with speeding up your engineering, which of course saves you time. And of course, everybody knows time is money. So by saving you time, we'll also save you the cost. What specifically VirtoCAD can do for you, it can help you with detailed drawings. That means it can help you with string plans, as well as ballast calculations, generating cable lengths, and even cable trays for your rooftop. That's just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more about it. And of course, that is something that we will show you. Last of all, we have also launched a new product, which is called VirtoMax. VirtoMax is a web-based software that allows you to quickly draw out your rooftop and fill it with panels. This way, it's mainly used for the initial sales phase, and you can see how many panels can be placed, simulate some shadows, and really see a yield you can count on for the year. That way, it can really help you for the first part of a project. Now, let's talk about the traditional methods of designing your projects. So before doing any drone flights, before using any PV software, the traditional methods would mean you would go to the site, and that doesn't mean once or twice, but multiple times, which of course also includes manually measuring the rooftop, mapping out the obstacles, seeing all the different distances and the different heights. This is first of all, of course, a risk of errors, because you rarely get it all right the first time, meaning you would have to visit the site again. And of course, since you're going on top of the rooftop, this also means you're taking risks, because it's not always safe up there. Also, if you're working from images, which also something that happens quite frequently, even an image that was taken half a year ago can already be outdated. Things on a rooftop change, things get added or taken away, which then of course means your plan is not fully accurate. The process is also slow and is limited to region. You're not going to visit the site that's an 8-hour drive on a weekly basis. 8 hours there, 8 hours back is just too time consuming. And that's also where drone flights can come in very handy. Also, if you're going to use multiple tools, there's always some translation tools between one tool to the next, meaning some errors can occur there as well, which is something, of course, we want to avoid. Now, at this point, I would like to launch a poll that we have set up. So let me quickly do that. So the poll should appear on your screen right now. And these are basically all the methods I talked about right now. And the question is, what would be the main reason for you to switch from traditional methods to drone surveys? You can answer once, you can answer twice, you can answer as many times as you'd like, even multiple, of course, different answers. And at the end of the demonstrations, we will show all the results of this poll to see if we get some interesting results. So at this point, I'll give you a minute or maybe two to fill it out, after which I'll close it, and then we can see the results afterwards. I already see a lot of people voting out there. Almost 50% have already launched the vote. So make sure to do this. I'm quite interested in the result we're about to see. So I'll give it a couple of more seconds so everybody can get a vote in before I end it. After this, we'll be talking about the flow between Inflights and VirtoCAD, how it specifically works, and how easy it can be. And then we will go on to the demonstrations of the Inflights and the VirtoCAD platform. Now, I see that most of you have already voted. So at this point, I think I'll close the poll and I'll share the results afterwards. So let me go to the next slide. And again, I'll give the word to Hugo.
Thank you so much, Jerry. So about the workflow, one thing that has been coming back from our clients is that they work on projects. They have a lot of things to manage. Time is money. And they struggled, especially, I mean, not now anymore, but in the beginning days, was to get a quote or to understand how to engage with drone data in a very simple way. And we solved this problem by helping our clients to obtain a quote in just a couple of seconds. And I think David will be demonstrating this later on, where you just select the area that you need to be overflown with. And then we will actually take care from Inflights to find the right pilot that has the right equipment, work with that pilot, he will fly, we process the data, and you obtain the digital twin and the CAD model in your Inflights platform. And that CAD model is something that you, Jerry, can know what to do with.
Yeah. When you receive a CAD model, it's basically just plug and play within VirtoCAD. So when you load it in to VirtoCAD, of course, the whole model is there. All the obstacles are mapped, meaning that you can really get an accurate design. Of course, you can also start from different data input, design the rooftop from scratch, but that is something that is quite, that really does take some time. So at this point, then when you get the rooftop, you can start designing, working around the obstacles and making sure your layout is fully optimized. So now it's time for the demonstrations, and we're going to start with Davy demonstrating the Inflights platform on the same project that I'll be demonstrating in VirtoCAD. Take it away, Davy.
Okay, I will share. Can you stop sharing?
Yeah, I'll quickly stop sharing my screen, and then you can take it over.
Okay. Everybody can see?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Yeah. Okay. So for several years, we have been counting on the expertise of Inflights and Virto Solar to design our solar panel installation in a more efficient way, accurate and safer way. This was crucial importance of the preparation of the project of our customer, Mulder Natural Foods. Because with Mulder Natural Foods, we have a long cable length and a lot of obstacles on the roof. That's why we choose, as we always do, to do a drone scan by Inflights, do afterwards the engineering by Virto. So for now, we have the Inflights desktop. We see you can log in or you can get an instant code. So for now, I go to my personal space. So I already feel free to enter the address of the company we want to like scan. Now you see directly it's going to the right location. Important to look if the location always is right, because sometimes it will a little bit to the side or to the other side. That's very important. Now we can draw. We can take all. We can draw, yes. Draw, yes. Now we can take the contours of the building. I go a little bit faster for now. So normally we do like the contours of every corner, but to keep it short, I do like this. Okay. Now we have drawn what we want to have scanned by the drone. So here we can see the total surface we want to scan, like 3 hectares. And then after we can choose for solar, then we choose for roof mapping with CAD. And then you see what the progress will be and how they process in the end. So we go back to map, and I can calculate price. And after when the quote is finished and I confirm this quote, Inflights will send, like earlier discussed, Inflights will send somebody to drone over. They arrange everything from contact with our client to permits and everything. We don't need to do anything about this. After the process is done, and the quote the process is done, and the engineering is done, we get a new process status or mailbox. Now we can see everything is online. We get a CAD model, we get some pictures and everything in the web viewer. So if you go to the view online, you can go to already. Sorry. So you can go to the viewer online. We see everything has been scanned. So now we can measure. We can measure whatever we want, and you can see directly the measurement will come on the screen. You can do different measurements. as you want, to look for safety, to look for everything. So if we go further, we can go to the 3D model. We can hover, like you see everything very clear. You need to wait for a few seconds to get the details right. But you see, it's very easy to use. I can scroll whatever I want and see everything. So that's why we have a look if everything is correct and see what we want to see. After we can share with this button, we can share this flight to Virto. And Virto will make from then off the engineering with VirtoCAD, and we will get the package after the engineering is done by Virto. And we can start up the project. So easy it is to get the flight done. Okay.
So easy it is indeed. Thank you, Davy.
Okay. I will stop sharing.
No, I think I can take it over. Yeah. Okay, so let me share my screen again. If I'm not mistaken, you should now all be able to see how it's got. This is the model we got directly from Inflights. If I zoom in a little, you can see we really get very nice detailing until the last couple of millimeters as well. So you can really depend that this is a model that you can really use. After you don't have the model, of course, now I'm showing it in a nice visual style, but for the design, of course, we will be working from a top-down view. You can already see I got all of those red lines here. That's because I entered the distance I wanted to keep away from obstacles. And because this is an in-flights 3D model, all of those obstacles are automatically detected, and those zones are created to make sure that no panels are placed inside or on top of different obstacles. Right now, it's then pretty easy to draw these boundary lines in blue and then simply start building and placing your modules. As you can see, I've already selected the module here. And for this specific setup, an Avasco system was used. However, we do have a list with other mounting systems available, for which we later on can also calculate the ballast for the rooftop. For now, I will select all of my boundaries. I will press build. And what this basically will start doing is filling up the whole rooftop, or at least the specific areas that I have drawn out with the system that I have set up here. If you don't want to use a brand available, you can also make it custom by choosing the different tilt angles, different spacing between the modules to really customize it to your own liking. In the background, you can already see that those panels are being placed, and this way the whole rooftop is getting filled. The obstacles, which were outlined in red, are of course also avoided to make sure no collisions happen in real time. You also have some radiance tools within the software. So either you can calculate the shadows being caused by obstacles like this, so you can produce a nice heat map, or you can also simulate it on top of the modules to see which modules get less or more sunlight than others, caused by different heights, different slopes, and different obstacles, of course, as well. If you then set up your system configuration, meaning choosing your inverters and your string lengths, you can simply start the stringing process. If I go to string mapping, I'll first show you that we of course have manual options. And with those manual options, you can basically just choose some modules you want to link together. On top here, you can see how many I have selected and how many I need to select. So right now I need 19, so let's say that's 18, 19. And if I then press enter, my string gets created. That's quite easy, but of course that does take a bit more time to do. So what we'll do for now is the automatic option. With automatic, you just choose some settings and decide the groups that you want to wire. And at that point, it will simply start doing everything automatically. This should not take too long, usually a couple of seconds, never more than a minute on a very large project. But as you can see, this is going quite rapidly. It will then automatically draw all of the strings, and it will prioritize to create straight strings where possible. Of course, east and west will never be strung together as well. Now, this is almost finishing up. And as you can see, just like that, all of the strings have been created quite quickly, quite easily. After we've created all of those strings, there are of course also the options to route all of your cables. I've already done it here, but to give an example, I'll quickly select all of those cables. And if I then isolate, you can see that this is how all of the cables are running from the different strings towards the tray and then all the way to the inverters, which were located on the top. This also, of course, means there are some complex calculations there, which would then amount, if I go to the summary palettes, of course, you get an overview on your modules. So you can see how many have been placed, type, power, and size of those, and of course the quantity. And for the cables, you can also get a good overview of the different lengths of those cables, which cross-section was used, and which voltage drop is then generated. So this can all be calculated as well. Finally, we can also generate cable trays. So if I select the option here, and if I quickly drag this over, you can fill in the sizes of cable trays you get from your supplier, choose your settings, and if you then press calculate, those cable trays will be placed on your project in 3D as well. As you can see, we have the blue trays, which are the big ones, the green, which are mediums, and the red, which are the small trays. And this is all placed in 3D space, of course, as well. Finally, since we used an Avasco mounting system right here, we're also able to calculate the ballast, which means that all of those ballast tiles are placed on the project. And this, of course, also means we can generate a full segment, a full report showing all the positions, all the placements, and the specifics for this mounting system. Okay, then last of all, the thing I wanted to show you is that if we now check the bill of materials inside of VertoCAD, we get a nice overview with the connectors, the inverters, all of the cable trays, the Avasco mounting system, and all of the cables that are needed to install our projects. Okay, that's it for the demonstration of VertoCAD. If you would like to go into a bit more detail, feel free to book a demonstration on our website. That's of course always an option. Okay, then to end
maybe
on
before you conclude, maybe something that I just want to add on the CAD part that has been coming back and forth a lot is that the way the CAD models are built are always built in a certain set of specific layers that have been designed and standardized by Virto and have evolved over the year. And I think that the time saving to get this right is very important, you know, because if you just make a CAD model or you measure things, but you don't save everything in the right layers the way Virto can interpret them, there is actually a lot of work that is being done back and forth between the project manager or the engineer, us being the CAD or the other CAD providers that are go back and forth. I think this here, Virto is a very specific software to make the project design very efficiently, but it also needs a very specific input. So not just any CAD model will do, or I mean, it will do, but then you need to spend a lot of time numbering or changing the layers, which is extremely time consuming. So
indeed, from Inflights, you get the model fully plug and play within the right layers, everything set up so you can just start right away without having to do any extra configurations. So it's definitely also a service that Inflights does provide. Right. Thanks, Hugo. Okay, so then to end with the same catchphrase as we began, basically the goal is more PV projects in less time worldwide. Of course, we do say worldwide since VertoCAD is available anywhere, and Inflights basically does fly everywhere. The combination is a golden combination you get anywhere in the world. Then, of course, before we move over to the Q&A part, I would like to show and share the results of the poll, which should be popping up on screen at this time. And as you can see, they were quite divided. There's actually a few that didn't get any votes at this point. Let's see, the biggest vote went for eliminating manual measurements. as I can assume, will take the lots of time, and of course, then also makes those errors. But as you can also see, a lot of them are spread out, meaning those are all valid points that nobody wants to encounter, of course.
I think I'm going to react to this. Like I disagree. Like I'm very surprised to see that the avoid safety risk has 0 votes. It's because I was not allowed to vote as a panelist, but I think this, especially, I mean, when we work with Spanish clients, a lot of times the Spanish rules don't allow access to people because of the safety problems, and so yeah, our clients cannot access the roof at all, or they need to do a lot of safety briefings, etc., or they need to get hooked on to etc. So using a drone is super useful because, of course, the drone doesn't need any safety systems, or at least it doesn't need to get hooked up. There's other safety systems to make sure the drone doesn't crash. But yeah, apart from that, I think I agree with the the rest of the results.
Right. Thanks to all of you for voting. This is some insightful information that's very helpful to us as well. At this point, of course, I want to thank all of you for joining this webinar. However, of course, you can still join the Q&A session. If you have any questions at all, make sure to note them down there. So not in the chat, but in the Q&A session itself. And then the 3 of us will answer those as best as we can. So again, thanks for joining, and the recording will be sent out to you afterwards as well. So let me check the Q&A. I believe you also have access, right, Hugo, to the Q&A section? Yeah, okay. So I'll start with the first question. Can VirtoCAD help me with my stringing and wiring? Do you only do rooftop or also ground-mounted projects? Indeed, we can do stringing and wiring in different configurations, different wiring styles, and the full electrical components are there as well. And we do both rooftop, but also ground mount. So any project you can think of, even carports and agri PV projects, we can do those. Okay, and let's see. Next, how can we calculate ballast? So basically how the ballast works is that with those companies like Avasco, Van der Valk, CPX, and a few more are on the way, by the way, we have created together with them a API that can calculate the ballast according to all of their settings. And how this basically works, because we created that API, it's also integrated within VirtoCAD. The same tools you can find on the website of those mounting system suppliers, and the calculations are perfectly the same. Okay. Oh, this is a good question from Peter. How much time can be saved by using Inflights/Virto on the design process? How much time would you think there could be saved within the use of the two? Let's think about it. Well, I think at least a couple of weeks. I think the measurement process itself alone would take a couple of weeks, which of course does not happen for Inflights. But within the designing phase of VirtoCAD with the 3D model, I would say we can save you up to 75% of the designing time, if not more.
Yeah. Maybe I'll let Davey answer first the question, because he will have the real answer. My answer is more of a sales answer, but Davey can maybe highlight a bit on how the drone flying goes in terms of the time to measure, but also in the lead times. Yeah.
So when we ask the drone and we confirm the code after, I think, like a week, we have the data. After, I think, a couple of days, we have the pre-engineering, and then it's only to discuss the detailed engineering. So in my opinion, a week, and we have all things together. So without waiting.
I think maybe that's probably accurate. I think the best we ever did, and Insaver was the client on that, is that there was an order in the morning and we were flying in the afternoon. But unfortunately, we cannot do this all the time. I can give a bit more details on the process itself. I think the drone flying itself, when you calculate the number of hectares that gets measured per minute of flying, this is an extremely effective tool. And so we can do lots of roofs and also terrains in a very small amount of time. This is also why drone technology gets used a lot for mapping terrains and roofs. So that is really, really effective. And I think also the processing and then doing that is actually goes very well. However, we live in a real world with conditions that prevent us sometimes from, and that's why David says sometimes it takes a week. Why is that? It's because we can only fly when we have good weather. And unfortunately, I cannot sell good weather. We are dependent on that. Secondly, there is also, we fly in the airspace. Of course, all the flights are being legal, and sometimes we need to ask for a permit to fly at a specific location, close to an airport, close to government buildings, close to police, close to you name it. So the whole drone industry is very heavily regulated, and there's quite a lot of paperwork that needs to be filled in. And as we all know, something that happens with paperwork, it doesn't get filled in on time, or it ends up on somebody's desk who forgets to sign it, or this can happen. So sometimes this 1 week actually becomes better. It's sometimes a bit longer, not because we are not doing anything. It's mostly because sometimes a paper needs to be signed by somebody. And this is unfortunately the reality of flying with a drone. And then I think the last part is that we are also, we go to a certain location, and people need to know upfront that the drone pilot is coming, and sometimes things go wrong there. So that's the reasons that the drone flight can not happen. I think from our end, what we have designed is that once a project is actually ordered by by our clients like Davy and Insaver, very quickly this will be put with our drone, with one of our drone pilots that is the closest by, and our process is extremely efficient to actually go very quick about all of these problems that we encounter. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to pick one from the chat as well. I see somebody typed the question chat, so quickly respond on that before we continue here. For carport, do I have to import the CAD model first to start designing, or does VertoCAD have inbuilt structures of carport in the mounting section of the software? So for carports, since you of course also the ground, we have the option to design your own rack, and that's way of course you can design your own carport system. So you can fully decide where the piles need to go, how high it should be, the different angles, different tilts. So everything for that is of course available. Okay, then back to the Q&A. Next question is from Alex, and I think this one is also for you.
Yeah, in the chat there is a very easy one. Which file from Annalena? Which file do you export to process the drone data in VertoCAD? It's actually a simple CAD. It's a .dwg, which is an AutoCAD extension, and it's a 3D DWG file. And it's of course it is always in the correct coordinate reference system, so that the whole shadow calculations and the irradiance calculations are done correctly. So I just saw it, and it's an easy one to answer. Just wanted to knock that one.
Yeah, indeed. I missed it. Thanks for attending.
No
but yeah, the next question is for you as well, so I'll leave you to it.
Also for me. Okay, so from Alex, how does the drone take measurements when using Inflights, LiDAR? So the way we work, so we are a platform where we obtain and we work with several drone pilots, and one of the main reasons that I maybe did not highlight in the introduction is that this allows us to work with normal drones, or actually drones that take pictures as the input, or LiDAR drones, as you mentioned here, which actually don't take pictures, but they take it's actually a scanner that is mounted on the drone, so it's a radar signal that is sent and then put back, and so you can measure the distance. For the roofs, which is the one that we're mostly discussing here, our experience learns that taking the high resolution photos is sufficient to make the 3D models. The accuracy with it is that we have 1 centimeter resolution on the roof, which gives you a 2 to 3 centimeters accuracy of the models, which is sufficient. You can actually do better, not a lot better, but you can make a higher resolution. You can go to 0.5 centimeter or even more if you want to. But we have found that in our experience, this is not necessary, and it's not worth the additional money or time to actually use other drones which are higher resolution. To answer the question on the LiDAR part, LiDAR is mostly used in cases of vegetation because it can go in between the trees and in between the vegetation, or almost always in between the vegetation, to measure the terrain model. And we mostly use this for the ground-mounted projects where people are installing solar panels in terrains, in agricultural fields where there is actually vegetation, and they want to understand better the terrain model. So we use both, but for the roofs, we have our experience has taught us that the pictures is sufficient. Yeah.
All right. Next, we have a question. You discussed about Virto Max. Does it only work on rooftop? No. So basically, it is indeed optimized for rooftop. Right now, there is a way where you can also design a ground-mounted project on there by basically creating the outline of rooftop and putting it, let's say, a centimeter high. But that's not fully optimized. That's something we will be definitely adding in the future. But for now, you can technically already do it. Yes. Okay, and the next one is for you again, Hugo.
I love this question. How much does the license cost for Inflights? Answer is very easy. It's absolutely 0.00. We have built our pricing model and our business model on a per flight basis. Why? Because our clients think and have a budget on a per project basis. And so we will ask money to fly, to process data and deliver the results, but there is no monthly fee or yearly fee.
Okay. Next is the same question we had before, which file type. So we get a straight 3D DWG from Inflights. And let's see. Is the temperature parameters of the site accounted while calculating the string length? So basically, we do not take temperature parameters into account on site. We give you options of what the most optimal string length will be according to inverters and transformers you want to use. So we give you some suggestions, but the temperature parameters, you can set them to optimize, but we do not calculate them automatically. That's something you'll have to set. Okay, next one is for you again, Hugo.
All right, so how long does it approximately take from the order to deliver a drone scan? So I think Davey already gave you an answer on that. So it is around a week, a bit less or a bit more, depending on the specific situation. What are the rough costs of the drone scan? Well, I mean, I invite you to actually get the specific price or specific location, because sometimes we need to pay extra money for a permit, or in some situations we cannot fly with one drone pilot, with multiple drone pilots. So I invite everybody to go to inflights.com/quote to get a quote. It only takes you 10 seconds to ask for it. But if you still want to have a rough idea, it starts at 750 euros for a full scan for a small roof, and then it goes up in with the size of the roof.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see, what mounting systems are integrated in Virto? How about if my mounting system supplier is not available in Virto? So let me quickly open it here. So the ones that are currently in there are SDEC, CPX, Avasco, Van der Valk, Bluebase, and Sunbeam. However, a few more will be added, but keep our socials in mind for that when we make announcements. And if it is not available, you still have the option when you start designing your system to place the panels exactly how it would be with your mounting system. So the right spaces between the panels, the right tilts, and everything like that should then keep being in mind for that mounting system. However, of course, if it is a mounting system that is not incorporated within VirtoCAD, we cannot calculate the ballast for it, since that's a very intricate server that has to be set up with that company. So that is something we cannot do, but you can definitely build with the right specifications. Okay, the next one is for you, Davey, I think.
don't really understand what Insaver is. Can you explain it again, please? So Insaver is a company who placing panels in industrial and commercial businesses. So we do the engineering, and we make sure that everything is placed conform to every norm and every good quality. And we complete the installation to the client. And how do you say? We make sure that the quality is correct and checked by us. So that's what we do.
All right, thank you. Next is for you again, Hugo.
Can I order from Inflights only 1 or 2 big projects, or must I have a long-term contract with Inflights? Well, I mean, you can of course order as many projects as you want. The pricing is per project, so the more projects you order, the happier we are. If you only order 1 project a year, that's also fine. There's absolutely no problem. Must I have a long-term contract with Inflights? We do have framework agreements with some of our clients if they order a lot to have a pricing discussion, or maybe some agreements on how to work together more better, but this is not necessary. No.
And the next question is one that is of course already answered. That's the one in chat. You can indeed do carports with VirtoCAD with the rack configurator. Next question from Peter. Are there limitations in size? What is the size of your biggest rooftop project designed by Virto and Inflights? Basically, speak at least for VirtoCAD, there are no real limitations in size. If you're going for a rooftop or a ground mount project and you're going, let's say, an insane scale of like 150 megawatts or higher, so at some point you might need to divide it into DWGs, because of course AutoCAD does have some limitations, but we don't really have a size limitation. What's the biggest rooftop project designed by Virto and Inflights? Well, in combination by the two, I can actually not really say. Rooftop projects, I have seen some of like 30 megawatts, like multiple rooftops within one design. That did happen. But for the combination of the two, I'm actually not quite sure. Are you looking?
I can help on this one. So I think from our end, is there a limitation in size? No, not really. I think there is, I mean, it's going to be more data that needs to be uploaded, but we are prepared for that. We're actually doing also a lot of ground-mounted projects, which are hundreds of hectares. And we have, our team is actually an engineering team. So the moment our software will run out of juice to calculate it, we will actually make projects in chunks and then put them back together, or actually deliver the chunks to Virto, to our clients, so that they can also work in chunks. Depends a bit of it. So it is not really, because we are not a software as a service where there might be certain limitation on memory or anything. We will work with our softwares, and if they run out, then we will just cut and paste it so that this happens. So there is not really limitation. I think probably the limitation is on how big the roofs are in where you are in the countries you are. I think the biggest project that will be designed soon. Actually, this is a very good example or a bad example of a project that is a bit stuck because of the paperwork that is behind it. But also with Insaver, we're doing a project that is around 70 hectares, 70. Of course, it is not one rooftop, it is multiple rooftops, and I don't know by heart how many they are, but it's definitely a very, very large project. And it's just flying a bit more. But the drone that will fly on these very big roofs, the drone is a very efficient on a per hectare basis. It's actually everything around the drone that can take time, and that we have as Inflights, we have actually tried to optimize. So there's not, I wouldn't say there's a that big of a limitation.
I think you can continue. I think the next few are also for you, so I'll relax a bit and I'll let you have them.
Thanks, Jerry. That's we should have agreed on who was taking care of what. Are you looking for preferential drone support in Greece? Yes, please. You can sign up in our platform by going to our website, inflights.com, and then there is a button where you can sign up and you can tell us which type of drones you are, where you are located, and what permits you have. So we would be very happy to work with you in Greece. All right, so that one is done. Yep, as shown during the demo, we can measure length once the drone scanned. Is it possible to measure heights using the 3D view? Yes, it is. It is the same. So you actually just turn a bit the point cloud, and then you can measure from top to bottom. What I see with our clients doing a lot is that they will measure the height of the roof. If they want to put scaffolding or they want to put something next to it, they know how high the roof is, but they also can measure the height of the obstacles of in the 3D viewer. So the answer is yes.
Okay, let's see.
All right. Do you have drone pilots who offer service within the UK? Quick answer, yes, we have quite a lot of them. And we have also a lot of experience with doing roof-mounted projects in the UK and also ground-mounted very large agricultural fields in the United Kingdom. So absolutely, yes.
Okay. How to import drone measurements to AutoCAD in order for VertoCAD PlexEarth to accept them and convert as thin mesh. So how do we get a thin mesh directly from the drone data? It's actually a very good question. I don't exactly know the answer to. We do get data as like elevation lines, elevation points, which we can of course convert into a mesh. I don't know if you have had such request, Hugo.
Yeah, I think fortunately or unfortunately, I'm going to answer, but with a legal caveat that my processing team will be much better to answer it. I'm just the guy at the top dividing and conquering the problems, but we do have a lot of experience with working with in Civil 3D for the terrain mounted projects, and then we create a thin mesh in Civil 3D. We also some people have been working with VertoCAD for the terrain mounted, and then so we added the mesh part as an element in our Civil 3D. So I think it is definitely possible. We have also, definitely possible to have all your data in the thin surface concept of Civil 3D. But I don't know if this answers actually exactly the question of the VertoCAD PlexEarth plugin. But that's
AutoCAD Civil 3D is used mainly for the creation of a thin mesh. Any solution for the energy production reports with financial analysis and other system configurations, exporting PVC file from Virto and configuring again a PVSys? It takes a lot of time from my experience. Andre, that's probably a good question that I don't really have an answer to at this point. So maybe best to send this question to our support, and then we can take a look at it. Because I'm not fully sure what you mean, but we can definitely discuss it, and we can have a call about it if necessary. Let's see. Which file type do you then import into AutoCAD for processing the model into VertoCAD? You have already gained a little experience, but you are not yet successful with further processing the data in AutoCAD. We cannot work on a created 3D model in VertoCAD. So basically, the only requirement we need for it to work with VertoCAD is that it's a 3D solid model, not like a specific mesh or like any lines, 3D polylines we sometimes get. It really needs to be a 3D solid model. So that's the one thing you need to import into AutoCAD for it to work. And further than that, it should all be fine. How do you handle obstacles in the software? I don't know if that's a question for me or it's a question for you, Hugo. I'm not quite sure. I think I explained in the demonstration how we avoid the obstacles at all costs for placement. So I'm not quite sure. Maybe if you can send us a bit more detail about it, or if you have an answer, Hugo.
I will try to have an answer. I think indeed I'm not fully sure what the question is about, but it comes back to the element when I added something when you're after the demo, your demo, Jerry, is that all the obstacles that our engineering team will detect on the roof will be marked, and then they will be marked as a layer that is understood by Virto as an obstacle. Hence, when Virto designs automatically the solar panel site, it will avoid the obstacles. No? And so this obstacle can be a window, the obstacle can be like a box or air conditioning or whatever. So we will mark all of them in the right layer, but then there is actually a straight link between how we mark them, or actually which layer we use in our design software, such that Virto can handle this easily. Yeah.
Yep. I see we only have 3 minutes left until the hour is over.
Yeah.
So we should wrap up. We have only 3 more questions, so I'll go over them. How accurate are the measurements with the Inflights drones? Yeah, Hugo commented about this before. So it's up to the centimeter or even half a centimeter needed, if I was not mistaken.
Maybe I will add one more thing, just very quickly. Accuracy has always two things. Like, I think it's important to distinguish relative accuracy, where you say, if I measure the size of a certain obstacle, then it is about a couple of centimeters accurate. And then there is also the absolute accuracy, which is if I point a certain element in my drawing and it has XYZ coordinates in the reference system, and I compare this with surveying data of the government, which is like the percent, that thing, the absolute accuracy. Here, the absolute accuracy will only be achieved if we use control points. So for a rooftop, there might be a difference between the roof and actually the government data, especially in the vertical direction. In the X and Y, we don't have a lot of error. But in the vertical, there will be a discrepancy here. So hence, if we work and this is needed for the terrain or the ground-mounted projects, we need to put additional control points to increase that accuracy. So the absolute accuracy also goes to, and here it's not 2 centimeters, it's more like 3-4 centimeters. I mean, it depends a bit on quite a lot of factors, but again, this is the absolute accuracy that is achieved. Yeah.
Okay. So indeed, the webinar will be recorded and will be available to watch later. And for the last question, on our website, you can find trainings you can book either on rooftop and ground mount, which happen about monthly or once in every 2 months. And there you can learn all about our new software. Also, you can book a demonstration if you want to have a 1-hour call where we can talk about the software and I can show you a few things. And of course, on the website, there's also a support page where you can find a lot more details about it as well. Okay, I think the timing is perfect. We have just about, well, we handled all of the questions that were there. That's also perfectly 4, so we've been going for about an hour. I want to thank all of you for attending this webinar. I hope you learned from something from it. I hope you found it interesting. And if there are still questions, make sure to contact us either at Virto Solar, at Inflights, or at Insaver as well. And then we can definitely reach out there as well. All right.
Thank you so much, Jerry, for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks to you for attending, and we'll do this again at some point.
Would love to do it. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks to all of you. Have a nice evening.
Nice evening. Bye.